momentarily. This is CLCI. We're here for another live on Tuesday, and we are here with now Master Certified Life Coaches, freshly graduated from this weekend's class. And today we are going to finish up our month of duality, and we are going to discuss if ignorance is bliss or knowledge is power. But before we do, I'm going to turn it over to Jerome to introduce everybody. But before I do, I'm going to also say make sure you comment, like, share, all that good stuff. We are monitoring, and thank you for watching. Jerome.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Live. Brooke took my bit very well, and she ran with it. So instead of describing what we're going to be discussing today, I'll go ahead and give the floor over to our recent master level graduates, and have them introduce themselves, starting with Don.
Oh, I get to start. Okay.
You get to start.
I guess I'm a master certified coach now, which is super awesome. I spent 15 years doing business development, and then I moved into becoming a inner city addictions counselor, specializing in homelessness and trauma. And I decided that instead of always working on the past, I'd like to look towards the future. And I sort of just fell into coaching. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And we have Abhijit.
Hey folks, my name is Abhijit and I'm joining in from sunny California. I live down here in San Jose in the Silicon Valley. And yes, I did work in the high-tech space for a few years, like 25 years or so. And it's only in the last few years that really the calling to make a difference with people's lives, like directly. I mean, I know that all tech also makes a difference, but like directly impacting people is what I have been called to. And so I've been coaching people for almost like the last 6-7 years now. Started taking really momentum in the last few years when I said, why don't I get ICF credentials? And when I joined up with these folks over here, I saw that getting credentials was not just about answering some questions, but was really taking on an entirely different mindset. So thank you folks for, really amazing job that you guys did in having me totally look at a new mindset of working with my clients.
We are super honored to have both of you guys that joined us this last weekend. And I don't want to forget about our staff here as well. We have Lisa joining us, as always.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you again for joining us on our Facebook Live. Don't forget to comment, like, share us with your people that know you best. When we're going through these lives, it's always exciting. Some days it's more serious, some days it's more lively. Here at CLCI, we're just family. We just like to hang out. We love each other. We like each other, and we love sharing whatever we can with you guys. Today's going to be particularly fun, I think, with the two perspectives that we're going to be sharing. So, and it'll be fun to take or listen and take what everyone says here and see where we go with it. So thank you for being here.
We don't need to introduce Anthony. Everybody knows who this is already, right? And then we have Anthony
now.
Anthony, our copywriter, is joining us as well, so we're excited to have him. And we do have T. I hope she joins us in the background.
Oh,
there she is.
Speak of the devil.
Oh, you don't have to. We can give you a second if you like, T.
Oh, no, it's okay. Sorry.
Okay,
I was at work trying to find a room to go to, and I couldn't find one. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in the break room.
Right.
So are we going into our duality?
We're introducing ourselves. So if you can give everybody just a quick second, explain who you are, where you're from.
Okay. My name is Saola Tonga. I go by T for short, because a lot of people have a hard time pronouncing my name. So I just go by T. And I live in Anchorage, Alaska. I moved here with my husband and our 4 boys. And I started this journey the self-love journey last summer. And I am really, really enjoying where I'm at while I was on this journey, I started seeing things about the certified life coach. And I'm so glad that I found it through you guys, because this experience has been so amazing, like so mind blowing, because I came in thinking I knew some things, but I left like mind blown, everything. And I'm just so grateful for you guys. I see it, everything that I've learned from there, I'm seeing in my home, I'm seeing it in my kids, I'm seeing it in my husband, and you guys just enhanced that for me. So thank you guys so much.
Oh, how
Thank
lovely
you.
was that? Thank you so much. We are honored that all of you attended and participated and took so much from it. That is one of the things that we acknowledge, is that when you bring it home, life changes, and exploring that and seeing how that changes. You said it beautifully. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
I want to really quick do a shout out to Aaron Wilson, Joe McParlin, and Kim Taylor Sherrod right now, who have all commented and are watching. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you guys. And did everybody get introduced? Jerome, did you introduce yourself? Do we know who you are?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jerome. I do things here at CLCI, and I
Me
have fun
too.
doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Who are you?
We should all
that,
introduce one another one day.
yeah, we should. That'd be fun.
Um,
But note that for next time we go live.
So today we are talking about whether or not ignorance is bliss or knowledge is power. Before we delve into that concept, what are your thoughts? Before we talk about, the duality, but what are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand? Is ignorance bliss or is knowledge power?
And your is the people here, or you're asking your?
All of you guys. No, you too. Everybody here.
So, hey, before I get started, can I just ask a quick question to Jerome? Jerome, I saw this gentleman, Don, he's so smart. He's changed his name to his email address. Is that visible on Facebook Live also?
Repeat it if you can.
The name in Zoom, he has changed it to his email address. Is that visible also in?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to go do that as Don or someone else.
Very
You're
smart.
So smart, Don.
If you just right click your name, you should be able to rename yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason I use Silver Fox.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of knowledge right there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say both. I think ignorance can be a blissful moment, and
you have to choose. You have to choose.
I'm not choosing.
That's fun. That's a little fun caveat.
You have to choose. You have to pick one. You have to pick one. I'm not saying either one is true or not, but you have to pick one.
I'm a coach. I'm definitely going to go on the side of both.
How about we pose this question? If you could only choose one and live your life with one concept, which one would you choose?
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know.
I would go with.
I'm going to have to go with knowledge.
Okay.
Because the thing is, no matter how smart you get, you are still ignorant. So if I get to choose knowledge,
that's true.
there's so many things I don't know. The smarter I get, the less I know.
But see, that's where the catch is, because you say there's so many things you don't know, which is why I say ignorance is bliss, because I would rather go into any situation as if I know nothing, with curiosity and with the ability to learn, than to walk in it with all the knowledge in the world and not have the ability to learn anything.
But then you're becoming knowledge is power when you walk into that. So then you have that.
They're one and the same. But this is why I posed this question, because I wanted to see what you guys would say. Anthony?
If I had to choose one, I would say ignorance is bliss. Just because we can definitely make contrasts between ourselves and just other animals out in the world. We know a lot more, and we create a lot more problems for ourselves by just being knowing, conscious beings out there. So when I see like my cat, for example, she's very ignorant of what's going around her, but she's very blissful and has a happy life.
I don't know though. Is she?
She is happy. So all the signs that she's happy.
A few days ago, I was talking with someone, and I was just saying that I think I'd like to be the world's biggest fool. And they said, why would you like to be the world's biggest fool? Because they say that fools ask more questions than a wise man can answer. And boy, do I like to ask questions. So,
Mhm.
I'm actually going to go with ignorance because, once again, I mean, if you know the four stages, like the unconscious competence, incompetence, then the unconscious competence, and, like the four stages there, when you go to unconscious competence, which is not knowing that you know and yet you're competent, like you drive a car from your work to your home, you don't even know how you drive the car. Your
It's
brain is doing the work. I feel like staying in ignorance and staying in that space, knowing that you can add to what you don't know all the time, and if you can't, hey, you're not missing out because you don't know anything anyways. So
you don't
have
know.
fun.
You don't know what you don't know. Well,
Exactly.
and it was what's the Aristotle quote? It's the more you know you don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is true in many ways. I mean, it's true. I was having a conversation with someone the other day too, and I was arguing with them. Well, I don't argue. We were having a discussion.
Never argue. Never, ever.
And but again, it's what we teach as coaches, right? When you're with your client, you're supposed to go in and go in with curiosity, right? Without knowing, with that the lack of knowledge, so that then you can learn. One of the questions, what do you know that is preventing you from knowing more?
Right.
I mean, think about it.
And it's always that what you know is which prevents you from knowing more. It's always what you know which is preventing you from living a powerful life. It's always what you know which is stopping you from, truly living to your potential. Think about it, because it's something that you know, which is something which has happened in the past, and therefore you know about it. And your past, when it comes and clouds your future,
Mhm.
you're not to use any French words here, but you are messed up. Right? If you can have a blank canvas, like every day you get up in the morning, and if you could have a blank canvas and say, I'm going to draw what I want to draw on this, not based on
Mhm.
what I know will work and not work from a. Well, it's not possible to live in the real world. I know that, but even then, I feel ignorance. Getting up in the morning in the space of curiosity with a blank canvas, fresh, trying to create it from nothing. Wow.
So
T, we haven't heard from you yet. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, would we say that the knowledge is power would be more of an overthinking concept, where we're sharing that the ignorance is bliss is an open to learning process? Is that what we're?
I mean, it could be what we're talking about. It could be. It doesn't have to be.
These are pretty relative statements as to how we react to them. Because when I said I believe in knowledge, it's because I don't know enough.
Mhm.
So I am ignorant.
Mhm.
So it's a very much centric based on the person as to how we respond to a very broad question.
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure.
Now, T.
I agree with the ignorance is bliss thing, because for example, one time I had a friend, I was going to school in Eugene, and I had a friend of mine who was not Samoan write a paper about Samoa. So she went and she did all this research, all this, and then she wrote this paper and she asked me to read it. So I read it and I said, it's not like that. And she was like, yeah, it is. And I said, girl, 18 years of my life I spent inside. I grew up there. It's not like that. And she's like, yeah, it is. That's what the encyclopedia, that all of these things, that's what this said, that's what Google said, that's what this book said, that's what. Okay, I get it, but I am telling you from experience, literally, I lived there 18 years of my life. It is not like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she just could not understand it. But and even then, like, I was like, wow, she's super ignorant. And then getting older, I mean, even where I'm at now, even talking about it now, I'm like, I didn't understand where she was seeing it from as well, because here's something that she was really passionate. I mean, she even before that, she was always talking about, I cannot wait to go visit Samoa. And I'm like, man, you'll like it. It's a really good time. I'd probably retire there, but I would not grow up there. And she was like, why? It's so beautiful. But that's the thing, is you see this because it's an island surrounded by water, and it's like, oh my God, it's so amazing, so beautiful. And blinded by it then. Blinded by that, blinded by the beauty and everything else. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
But I mean, you bring up a good point, though, which is another sort of philosophical kind of thing. What can we really know? What do we really know?
That sort of brings into with T's story about experiential knowledge versus, learned knowledge or descriptive knowledge about a thing. And one, I forgot what this was called, but there's some philosophical sort of thought experiment where if you were, let's say you have a blind person and you're a scientist yourself, and you are trying to describe in the most minute detail what the color red looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They've been blind since birth and they never have seen red. Could you give enough information where that description is the same as the experience of red?
I can't even know where to start with how to explain color. Like, how do you explain color?
I've seen criticisms of both sides, and I don't remember the exact arguments, but there is something about experience that you can't really put into terms to explain to other people. So there seems to be a limit to knowledge in that sort of sense.
And that's language too. That's as a result of language and communication as well, and the limitations there. Yeah, go ahead, Abdi.
No, but I was going to say that, I may disagree that it's only the limitations of language, because, I don't know if you guys see Big Bang Theory. In Big Bang Theory, in one of the episodes, Sheldon talks about how he has learned swimming, I think. And, he's done everything that he can to learn swimming, and he's phenomenally smart and phenomenally intelligent. But, I've taught my daughter how to ride a bicycle, and I tried to teach her everything that I could sitting at home. But riding a bicycle, there are no words. There is just the balance of it, which you can only get through an experience of it. And, there is no words which describe that, right?
Yeah, it's flexing muscles, really. Like you have to start to build that muscle, and that can be applied, in many ways, not just to actual physical muscles, but using the skill set and putting them into practice is much different than reading about it or things of that nature, which is interesting. One of the things while studying for this topic, essentially, I read about was something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is this effect that when we have a lot of knowledge about something, we often underestimate our ability to do it because we know what has to go into it. But if we don't have a lot of knowledge about something, we often overestimate our ability to do it. Why? Because we don't have a lot of knowledge as to what has to happen for that of what goes into it. And so this is a very common thing that happens within us. And it's that sort of assumptive state without knowing the whole picture. And once we do know it, we realize, oh man, there's a lot more to this than we initially expected. Which is kind of a beautiful thing, though. If you apply that to a bigger scale, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. It just means that there's always more to learn.
I was going to bring it to coaching as well for the level 2 class. I mean, you can only talk about it so much, but having the students actually be the client or be the coach or be the observer, that gives a whole new dimension to coaching where you can't really, you can have the best teacher explain coaching and give metaphors and different tools, but it's not the same as being in a coaching session.
Absolutely. And being a client is so critical, right?
Yep. So, before you joined, right now in the earlier on, we were talking about my experience with a brand new client yesterday. So before I took on the level 1, I was very confident that I was a master coach already. I mean, I just knew everything about coaching. And the only reason I wanted to do this program is, I just get the tick marks off, get the ICF credential and be done with it. And so that's how I came to the knowledge, knowing, confident to your point, to the point that you raised earlier, knowing that I can do this stuff. And here I go through level 1, I go through level 2, and I think, I've learned all those things, and then, like, wow, like a different level. And so I go into a brand new coaching session yesterday, and had any of you guys observed it, or if ICS would have observed it, I failed miserably. Because instead of being in the space of inquiry, I was leading her. I was directing her. I was like telling her what to do. I mean, she was suffering so much. At the end of the day, she got whatever she got and she was very happy and she wants to work with it. But I was left so much with like having gotten all this knowledge really now, I know how much more work I need to do on myself. I need to do as practice to genuinely bring that level of value to my clients.
So I want to ask you, all of you, a question who just graduated. Like he said, he came in, and you all have a degree of knowledge, right? You all have you come into this with life experience at a minimum. How do you find your value in your knowledge without necessarily using that knowledge in your coaching sessions? How do you guys sort of remedy that, or how do you approach it in that way?
Can you repeat the question?
Run here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
First off, I cannot believe I'm in on a duality session. This is my thing.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Huge. I think T knows some.
Okay, we
Anyway,
have a secret. Just kidding.
No, it was in the last coaching session. But how I approach and when I say knowledge, because it's so important to me, is because how little I know. And this is, oh God, going back like 7 years ago. I went blind for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I bought goggles. I painted them out. 24 hours a day, I was blind for 2 weeks. I had a person helping me up the stairs. I would go like walking in places. And I realized how much I don't know, because unless you've tried to eat a French fry and dip it in gravy and put it in your mouth with a beer without having stuff here, like not just a little bit of gravy here, like everywhere, it reminds us how little we know. So every person that I approach, and this is coaching, this is life, this is relationships, it's how much I don't know that's important to me. That's why the knowledge is important to me.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. I mean, I understand. It's the ability to know more that's important to you, or the knowledge that you just shouldn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. This is the brain hurtings.
Yeah. I would never, ever, for anybody watching at home, I would never suggest going blind for 2 weeks. It is not mentally healthy.
Did you even do it? Now, my question is, did you even do it when you were by yourself?
For periods of time, like hours at a time, but not 24 hours a day. No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Because that would be really difficult. I think at some point I would be completely I would take them off. I would be like, nope. I'm just.
I mean, I live by myself, so like I might hurt myself, and then.
Yeah, exactly. Like my own safety would
later
come into play at some point, and I'd be like, nah, not happening. But that is, I mean, that's a very cool. I mean, the experience of being out there in the world. I'm curious, were people? How did you find people interacted with you in that situation? How was the interaction different with other human beings?
Honestly, a lot more empathetic.
Okay.
I can remember sitting down for like a lunch with my son, and I even had a cane, so my cane dropped. I'm trying to reach it. This nice guy picked it up, put it right in my hand.
Very nice. Good. That makes me happy to hear.
I think what I'm hearing in some of this is when we are open to being vulnerable, people around us feel that, I'm going to call it energy, and open themselves to being in that vulnerable state. When I was speaking about that and how people reached and helped, the goodness of our nature can blossom from that experience. So in our coaching session, when we think about having someone and us being in that vulnerable state, what are we speaking about here based on what John shared? What do you think, guys?
So, I personally believe that, most of the places, when we talk about duality, let me backtrack. When we talk about balance, we talk about the center line. We talk about, towing the center line.
Yeah.
My belief is that balance is not the center line. Balance is on two sides being equally heavy. Going back to Lisa's question, when you say that being vulnerable, the more vulnerable you are, the more aware you would need to be. If you just take on being completely vulnerable and oblivious to what is happening around you, then there is a certain experience of life. Every time you look at anything, it is like a coin which has both sides to it. And balance, in my mind, so therefore, when you say knowledge, the more you know that you don't know, and it gets balanced out. And so the more you know, and then the more you don't know, and then the more you know. So if you say that, balance is the line in between, toe the line in between, you just learn just enough to get by in your life. And then we're talking about growth mindset. You don't have the growth mindset because you just about know enough to get by, but heavy on both the sides.
I will also say, though, I think that balance, it's not always going to be equal on both sides, though. So that's where resilience comes in, or so that you can have that flex, so you can be able to manage when this side's getting a little heavier, but also you can use that to your benefit. You can know when to make which side heavier and lighter on the other, to maybe create a different kind of balance, so that you're still finding some equilibrium, right?
Well, that's what a healthy relationship is, right? When we're talking about that, it's knowing who we are, when we are at that time, and when we don't, we have our relationship with, whether it's work, our partners, our grandchildren, our whomever it is, that strength can come from them in places where we may not have that weight and move us that way. Mm-hmm.
Let me just say, one thing about this, and then I'll shut up. I know that I tend to talk a lot. So, I call this the polarity paradox. Mm-hmm. See, if you look at nature, the centrifugal force has to be equal to the gravity. It's throwing you off. If the centrifugal force got a little bit more, we're just going to be thrown off the face of the earth. If the gravity got a little bit more, we're going to be stuck to the earth. The North Pole and the South Pole, they have the magnets, of the earth. They're equal and the same. So I feel like while the nature goes a little this way, we don't say that let the whole earth have a neutral polarity. We say that let the North Pole have a certain polarity, let the South Pole have a certain polarity. Your atoms, they reach balance when your neutrons and the positive force and the negative force is equal. The bigger the atom, the more the electrons and more the mass in center. But it's not like, oh, let's just, let's have a neutral thing for the entire atom. So the nature, you look at it, balance is being on both the sides. For us as human beings, I agree with Brooke. We go like this. We go like this sometimes, and then we go like this, and then we go like this. It's impossible to stay equal, right?
Right. Push and pull. Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a beautiful thing, because that's experience. that creates growth. That creates our knowledge. Because we cannot have learning experiences without having the opportunity, having the reason to have the learning experience to begin with. And often that reason is it can be coming from a place of pain or frustration, or that is where a lot of our learning comes from. And that's the nature of human beings. But again, it's always, we are, I guess, on some level, always trying to achieve some kind of homeostasis or equality. Jerome, I have not heard from you in ages.
Well, I mean, really, what you guys are speaking into is exactly, it's how you guys have heard me speak about balance a lot on the series here going live. And I don't think that, at least I genuinely do not know for a fact if you can actually achieve balance, but the pursuit of balance is, to me, I think, such a beautiful concept, because we're always growing. There's ebbs and flows in our life. Even if we do at one particular instance have everything set up, and we've got this cup we need to fill, this cup we need to fill, this cup we need to fill to achieve that balance. Maybe a new cup comes in. Maybe one of those cups is old and dirty and we don't want it anymore. So I think really what I've come to kind of understand is that the pursuit of balance is, I think, much more admirable than balance itself, because I don't know that. I genuinely do not know that balance is achievable.
Perhaps it's not about achieving balance, but it's about being happy even when you're in balance or even when you're on the path, you know? Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I think it's more of a question of being okay with the balance, because I think maybe people misunderstand. Like, I don't think you can ever completely be out of balance, because if you were 100% ignorant,
falling
you're
over.
probably not even considering that as a question. Like, it's probably not a problem to you if you're 100% ignorant. And if you're 100% on the other side of knowing, I don't think that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could ever.
At that point, you're God. Yes.
Well, either at that point you're God, or you're completely out of your mind and you've somehow
Delusional.
convinced yourself that you know everything. But I think with the
well, and then that it's interesting. If you are the person who has convinced themselves they know everything, are they not probably one of the most ignorant people?
Truly.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to bringing it to sort of coaching and people's sort of anxieties that they want to get help with, they usually either want to know more because they feel like they don't have all the options available, or they feel like they maybe know too much and there's too many options and they sort of have paralysis by analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess my question would be, how do you coach somebody, or how do you help somebody who there's just too much to choose from?
Before anybody answers, I'm going to read the comments really quick because we've had several and I've just been ignoring them. So Kim Taylor Sherrod said she's very happy in an unhealthy marriage for 30 years. It's what I knew. I had a giant awakening and could never be happy again, but haven't been as happy single as I was when I was married. So ignorance is bliss and knowledge is power. And then we have down here, knowledge is power. I teach my kids that, but at the same time, I have always had the mindset that I know that you always need to continue to learn new things. And that's from Regina. And then on balance, Regina also said, a balance is an individual to each one, as well as experiences which help us grow. So there we go. Now let's answer that question about how do we help a client with way too many options, or way too, they're basically probably nonlinear. Like myself. So how do you get that client who sees all the options to how do you help them? Actually, I'm not even going to say to anything.
What's your thought?
I'd probably ask them, well, during this session, which one do you want to address first? What do you want to talk about today? What do you want to address today? What can we work on today?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's all I got.
I think a good question to ask in that situation is, what is in your power? What are you capable of? What is the first step you can take?
Or would it be okay to ask, what matters the most to them? Like, really what
Scaling.
matters to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, like, in all the different options that they have, it may address what matters to them more by some options and less by certain options. So really, not why as in why did they do it in the past, but what do they hope to achieve? Why are they doing this? What is really important for them? And if you see if it's family, if it's something deeper, then one of the options starts to look, or some of the options start to look like the obvious options, because that addresses the vision that they have out there, the reason for their angst. It starts to address that. So I would really go into what matters to them.
Now, my concern there is there was an assumption made. You assumed there was angst. There may not be.
I got it.
I wasn't too specific.
The question that you said is that they have multiple choices. How do you help them make a choice? I'm saying that the reason they need to make that choice, what matters to them the most,
Mm-hmm.
those choices will start to fall out.
Which is what is coaching the whole person. That's
Yes.
what level 2 is really focusing in on, is to coach the whole person, their personal space versus the actual object.
Yes.
So when you're bringing it home, you're helping them find their purpose, their passion, their love, their interjection of where they want to go with that.
And I want to say it's not always a bad thing to have a lot of options. When we did a crazy brainstorming thing earlier on in January, and one of the activities is to write out 50 goals, write out 50 things that you want to do in your life. But then you take that and we narrow it down, and you go, okay, wait, if we'd use the life wheel essentially and go, how would this goal affect, improve, or what have you, these areas of my life? And then what that does is it takes all these things that they want to do, and it helps them to see which ones are really the most important, how it will benefit them. And so sometimes, though, having all those options isn't a bad thing. It's just a way for them to explore different facets of themselves. And even still, a lot of those things might end up interlinking in that process, too. That's the nonlinear part side of me going there, who's like, all the options are a good thing, darn it. I don't want one, I want them all.
Yeah, I love what you just said, Brooke, because one of my favorite questions, because options are a huge thing for a lot of people. I see everything's coming at me, I just everything. I'm like, okay, let's take a second. What do you see? Mm-hmm. Well, I see this and this and this. Okay, but what do you see as your options? So I'll be having focusing on the options and realizing, well, I don't have every option. I have 5 or 10 or 50. Okay, well, like you said, how many of them are sort of the same? You know, what do you see now? Do you see 50 or do you see 10? And then going, because the more you look at something, the smaller it gets. In my opinion, this is strictly my opinion. So I really like asking, what do you see?
Now, what modality is he?
It would be up to the person.
No, I just you said see, focus, and I was like, oh, totally a visual, totally visual.
I was just going to say that, we've gotten so used to the pill philosophy that give me a pill which is going to solve my problem. We want to take a pop-up pill, and so we think that just because you can pop an Advil and have your pain go away, your coach is going to give you a pill / choice which you just take on, and then the worries of your life are going to go away. And that doesn't work that way, right?
It's not fair to say that the pill is solving any problem either, right? It's often just dampering a symptom, not solving a problem. So what I think the neglect there is that to, again, acknowledge, like we've sort of touched on, that the process is where you need to be happy, and the process is where you need to, that is as important as the goal, because that is where you build your resilience. That's where you build your you get all those tools and techniques that strengthen you as a human being and an individual. And so it's critical, I think, to learn to be happy in the process, and know that instead of the pill, it's about the recovery and figuring out what that is and what those steps are. And it doesn't have to be recovery, living in the same metaphor, but again, a pill just puts a Band-Aid on it.
And we're talking for like not literally somebody's health and medical needs. So when we're in this metaphor, the idea that the process, and we have to trust ourselves. I think oftentimes when we're in a process, we don't trust ourselves, and we overthink and overvalue something, put too much energy in, and then when we get to the next day, we can recognize where that hiccup was. And so in the process of trying to shoot for balance isn't really the outcome, is it? It is moving towards what our soul is searching for. It's moving in a place of finding love, compassion, connection, what security means. That's typically where we're always moving towards, I feel like, when we use that word balance. It's a good start.
Well,
yeah.
I think too, acknowledging also that even when we reach a goal, it's not like we're done. It's not like we made it, boom, we stopped living now, all is good. There's always more. There's always another process. There's always another step. Yeah. And so we're always in this sort of state of learning, growing, knowing. And that is again, why it's so critical to learn to be happy in the process. learn to trust the process, because the process is not going anywhere. And that's a beautiful thing. Knowing it's being happy with being perfectly imperfect in many ways.
Well, and that's where we've been trained that we're supposed to be perfect. Everything's based on perfection. And that's kind of a misnomer. There's no such thing. And I don't want to be perfect. I want to do my best.
It'd be boring if everybody was perfect, the same. I've been yawning.
Right. Right.
Well, I'm perfect and it's pretty great. But.
It's because I love patterns and I love math, but I love outliers. Like, I love when something just goes out of left field and throws everything into a loop and everybody into a tizzy. Like, that is fun. Mind you, but it's for me because it's a challenge and it's something different, and it's just so I just really I like that when things are not perfect in many ways, because I think there's a tremendous amount of learning that can happen when things are not. By the way, Kenyana said, I find this dynamic interesting as I know someone currently living with a spouse who has a personality disorder. She's in such a state. I see her with her hamsters on her wheel, but yet can't tell her what she should be doing. I mostly listen and kind of help her see how she can make it through the day. They are in therapy, but he mostly deflects. My heart goes out to them. I've certainly been in ignorance, and it took some time for me to find my bliss. This is a good topic of discussion, and thank you. So thank you very much, Kenyana. Appreciate it. And what's interesting, in all of this month, we've talked about duality, and in every topic, what has come up is finding balance. Is finding that it has. I think you cannot speak about duality and you cannot speak about polarity without also speaking about the center, which is something interesting that I hadn't thought about or accounted for.
I think it's really resilience, not really balance. I think it's the resilience.
Well, I mean, what are they two? How different are resilience and balance? Are they part of one another, or that's the next question, right?
If I could just go one step back, Brooke, to what you're talking about, which is, it's all about the process. And I think that, since our childhood, we have been taught to be result oriented. You need to get the grades that you need to get, and then you need to graduate from high school and go to a good college, and then you need to get a good job. We're so result oriented that, everything in our life or success is measured by the goals that you achieve and the milestones that you go through. And in that process of milestone achievement, we lose out to have fun in the process. And so if you can start to shift your emphasis, like in Bhagavad Gita, they say, Karamanye karasya. So there's like a whole shlok there, which says, truly focus on doing. Do your duty. And by duty, they mean what comes natural to you. So follow your passion without focusing on the results. But here, we focus so much on the results. I need to get to the top of Half Dome, forgetting to enjoy the beauty of the hike. And so if you can start to change your mindset a little bit, that's where enjoying the process comes in.
So that's an interesting, so one of the things we talk about, there's a book, Blue Zones, that you read, and one of the commonalities in all of the places where people live the longest is that they don't really have a concept of retirement. They don't really have a concept of, I work until I get this and then I stop. It's that they get up and that's part of their life. That's their doing is a part of living. It's not goal, like I'm going to work until I'm 56 and this is going to happen. The cultures that don't have that thought process actually live much longer because they have a purpose every day, and they don't ever reach the end of their purpose. And I think that's a very beautiful thing is being in the process and continuing that and letting, mind you, I'm a goals and rewards motivated human being in many ways. So this is a difficult concept for me to swallow, but I absolutely see the value in it without a doubt. Yeah.
So can the journey be the reward?
Well, yes, exactly. No, and make yourself little rewards along the way. Like celebrate the littlest things, the littlest achievements, the littlest. Always give yourself a reason to celebrate. I think that is huge and so important.
See, if you go back to professional sports players, right? Every one of them, you comes into the game to win. They want to be the Super Bowl champs. They want to win the Masters. They play like the only way to play is to win. They finish the game, wash it out. Next day, wow, a fresh new day. So I feel like, when Dan spoke about attachment versus connection, I mean, that struck a chord. Like, really connect with where you want to go energetically. Don't be attached to it. Play the game full out. If you're not playing to reach a goal, you're not going to play it full out. Have fun in playing it. You achieve it, you don't achieve it, on next game, right? So,
and what I'm saying is celebrate every yard you make, celebrate every goal you get, it doesn't, every basket, celebrate all the little things along the way too, whether you win or not. I think that's a critical part. And to bring this all back around to our original topic as well, in talking about this enjoying the journey, how does that apply to having knowledge or having ignorance?
if you imagine knowing everything, you're going to get up tomorrow morning not curious about what the day unfolds for you. If you are ignorant about what your day is going to unfold for you, you are going to step into the day curious, like a child, with eyes open. That's the way I look at it. So ignorance.
If you know how the day is going to be, you're not going to be in the moment, right? You're not going to be enjoying the journey.
Exactly. And it's like, so like when you learn something new, like the other day, I forget what it was, but it was...
That was a blanket statement, by the way. I just made, so unfair. Yes, go ahead, T.
But it was such a, like one of those, like, how did I not know this thing? And it was actually one of my my kids, one of my boys pointed it out, and I was like, oh wow. And they didn't look at me like, wow, you're older, so you're supposed to know. But it was one of those things. Like, did you know that it was some fact that they learned at school? And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And to me, I was like, mind blown. How did I not know this? And it was so exciting for me. Like, I felt really good. I'm like, wow, that is amazing. I am this old and I didn't know that. But to know that now is even more amazing.
And it gives you more to learn too, right?
Yeah.
When you have your, like, a door open up like that, it's like, oh my God, there's all these things for me to see now. And that, again, that's that. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. But that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
It's also a gift that she gave her children by allowing them to be the teacher of their mom, and that is a beautiful gift to be sharing. To not be the know-it-all and accept that learning. Nicely done.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that ignorance is bliss, knowledge is power, is a process in itself? Whereas, so for example, I'm a clean slate, fresh to the world, and all possibilities are available to me. Then I learn something and I realize that's really difficult. I don't know that that's possible for me. So the bliss goes down. Ignorance also goes down, but the knowledge and power goes up. But I understand now that I can figure out, I don't know what the answer is at that point in time, but I can figure it out with knowledge. So once you do figure out what that is, you get to, I think, the end step of that process, or not the end step, but one of the checkpoints in that process. And now something else that, you're looking for. Go ahead, Brooke.
It's a cycle. And it's one of the things I say is the meaning of life is learn, grow, share. So it's you learn something, you grow from it, you share that knowledge, and then you learn something else, and you grow from it, and you share that knowledge, and you learn. And it's our process, and it's what we do is we learn, we grow, and then we share that knowledge, and then we learn something, and then in that. The amazing thing is when we share that with other people, when we share that and have that experience with life and with humans and with just everything, nature and our experience of it, we are always given more and more opportunity to learn, to grow, and to share. And so I think it's this whole concept is actually it's a cycle. It's not even a polarity or a duality kind of situation. It is in truth a life cycle.
And that there's more than one way to do something.
Absolutely.
There's always more than one way to do something. And then just opening your mind up to that. That's where the ignorance comes in, and then the bliss comes in. The knowledge falls in there too. And you're like a sandwich, something as simple as a sandwich. The other day I was telling my son, I want a turkey sandwich. And he was like, okay, well, all right. And I was kind of standing there looking and seeing how he was doing. I was like, no, that's not how you do it. a turkey sandwich. A turkey sandwich. 2 pieces of bread, piece of turkey, some Swiss cheese, some mayonnaise. That's it, a turkey sandwich. And I said, no, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. And he's like, do you want me to butter up your bread with like, I don't know, ketchup or something? I was like, no, mayo. And he's like, but you want me just to butter up one side of the bread first and then put the, and I said, yeah. And he was like, and I said, wait, how do you do it? And he said, well, I butter both sides and then I put cheese on one side and the turkey on the other side and then the lettuce in the middle. And I thought, how did I never make my sandwiches like that? Because that sounds so amazing. And I was like, wow, here I am going like this route, that route, that route, that route to get the end result. And my kid was just like, boom, binga, banga, boonga, and done.
That's awesome. I feel like that's a space where ignorance is power in that instance.
Yes.
Well, it's that
Yes.
if she didn't ask, how do you do it though, right? She never would have been given this other option or this other way. And that's why it's so important to be open to the opportunity of you not knowing anything, like open to the opportunity of your own ignorance. Because at the moment we say we know something with absolute certainty, we are in fact putting ourselves in a box, and we are in fact shutting
Yes.
ourselves off from knowledge and the opportunity to learn in many
Yes.
ways.
Yeah, there's so much that in a coaching session, if we bring this back to coaching,
Yes, absolutely.
that we learn from our clients. I am so grateful for every single one of my clients teaching and the opportunities where I in the column where I needed to work on stuff, wrote in the column where I could work on stuff so that I can grow and be a better coach in the process.
Definitely.
We are about wrapping it up here, almost finished. So let's go through, give our final thoughts, and then say Auf Wiedersehen. Let's T with your big smile, big beautiful smile. Go for it.
My thoughts
yeah, absolutely.
on the subject.
on our anything that has to do with anything we've spoken about.
I love this because I think I was coming in ignorant, like, oh, I'm sure whatever anyone here in our little round table is gonna say, I'm pretty sure I know it. But then you guys were like, well, this, that, and it was like the turkey sandwich thing. And I was like, whoa, I guess I never thought about it like that. And then with Jerome coming in with, well, what if you went in like this, and then this happened, and then this happened? I was like, okay, Jerome, all right. And then FG coming in with his knowledge, with Don coming in with his knowledge, Lisa just coming in with her knowledge, and you, Brooke. And that's where it's like, to me, honestly, ignorance is bliss and knowledge is power. I personally feel can't exist without the other. Mm-hmm. And that's my take on it. But I love this. I love that we're all this open discussion, this talking about it, because again, here we are, different people with different outlooks on life, the way we see things, our perspective. And that's one thing that Ray talked about in level 1. Perception is interpretation. Mm-hmm. And I catch myself saying that a lot now. Perception is interpretation. So my way is not always the highway. Mm-hmm. It's my way with lots of other, and me accepting that. That's what I learned. I don't have to push my thoughts or my ideas onto anybody, because the people that I've met for coaching sessions, really taught me a lot. Like, whoa, what? And I am just so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for keeping an open mind. I'm so grateful for this, for all of this. And I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm so grateful to be here right now. So thank you guys for this opportunity to come here and just thought share. I just made that word up, but that's what we did. Thought share.
Honored to have you. Honored to have you. Next up, Dawn.
Okay, my turn. Lisa, way to end off at the end. How does this come back to coaching? You pulled it right in, because we were going a little squirrely there.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved everybody on this. My thirst for knowledge is quite large. So anything anybody can speak to me about, and sometimes that's all knowledge is. It's just speaking to me. So I love that. Thank you, everybody, so much. Jerome, as always, awesome. Anthony, nice to meet you. Abhijit, brother, we need a glass of wine one of these days.
Absolutely.
Brooke, your smile's infectious, and T, as is yours. Guys, thank you so much.
Awesome.
And Abhijit.
So I'm going to finish with two visuals. Yeah, I'm a very visual person. I just want to, you to think about when you were a child. You think you know so much. If you talk with a 2-year-old boy or a girl, you think they think they know everything. So the circle which says knowledge and how much I know is almost like the same. As you start to grow, the circle of what is there to know and how much you know, you start to shrink, and the circle that starts to grow. At a certain age in our life, we grow up and we think we know it all. And if you're not a growth mindset person, then you're going to stay right there. If you're a growth mindset person, then you'll see that the more you know, your circle, instead of increasing, keeps on becoming smaller and smaller. And what is there to know in the world keeps becoming bigger and bigger. Till you really realize that you're just a dot in the whole knowledge of this universe. What you know is just a dot, which probably can be seen by a super microscope. So, really, the more you know your work. And that's one visual I want to leave you. The second visual I want you to leave you with in growth mindset is, I see my life as a spiral which is expanding, and my ball is like, this is my life. As it's going up, it's expanding or it's contracting. And it's my choice. If I choose to be ignorant and let knowledge come in, the more I grow, my life grows bigger and bigger and bigger. And if I go into not wanting to learn, not wanting to be in a growth mindset, my life shrinks smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's like a spiral. The more you know, the more there is to know, and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. And, at one point in time, you die, but, you are on this path, on this journey, and
but we don't know what happens with that either. We can't be, it would just be
absolutely right.
Nobody's lived to tell the tale.
So growth mindset is the way to go, with your life expanding and you becoming more and more insignificant in the space in the universe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love those visuals, by the way. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love. Lisa?
I just want to thank you all for being here. I love these conversations. I love the randomness, the focus, the growth, the interaction, everyone's personality with the process. I just want to thank you all for being here. We are in love with this process. We extend the love to you as well. Please go through the journey, stay connected with us, and let's do this again.
Oh, please.
Yes.
And then Anthony.
Final thoughts, I would say learn to be comfortable and happy with being ignorant. Learn it's not a bad thing, and also be comfortable with knowing things and learning things bit by bit. And even though you can't know everything, don't try to compare yourself with other people or some objective goal to try to reach. Just enjoy the process of sort of building that foundation of knowledge so that you have more power to use in your life. But be okay with your limits too.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing to, come to terms with.
Thank you.
Jerome?
So we posed the question, which was a bit leading, maybe a trick question as well, right? Ignorance is bliss, or
Yep.
Power?
May have been a little bit of a trick question.
Yeah, good answer. Okay, but I think I may have answered it adequately. So, ignorance is bliss, or knowledge is power. Equal sign, no power is the answer. Not no, excuse me. No ignorance, not no N-O, K-N-O-W, ignorance, I believe, is the answer.
I like it.
Very
I like it.
Very cool.
Boom. We need a sticker. We need a graphic made up for that,
I'm
please?
gonna trademark that because I'm gonna see that.
I love
Immediately.
love
And then I just wanted to, well, first and foremost, thank you guys so much. I always learn, and this is so much food for thought. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And for me, my biggest takeaway is that it is okay not to know. It's okay, and it's not a failing. It is not anything that reflects on me other than that I don't know, but that I want to learn. So that's really what matters for me, at least. So I may not know, but I want to learn. And that's it. Gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys out there for watching. Make sure you comment, share, like, and if you enjoyed this, check out Certified Life Coach Institute. You could be hanging out with these kind of coaches as a coach, doing awesome things, having, what did you call them? Thought You called them thought. Oh, so
Makers.
It'll come back to us. It's okay. We don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all.